ITNation Connect 2024 was last week. It's the Monday after. Huge success. Largest MSP event of the year. So many new announcements. So many new exciting things going on. We had a great time. We had Podcasters Row for the first time ever at an MSP event, by the way, not just IT Nation, where we had 9 podcasters set up in their own area, in a high traffic area, just having conversations with attendees, MSPs, with vendors, with ConnectWise staff. Just a wonderful event. Ushering the new CEO, Manny Ravello, as Jason McGee exits, and lots of great new product announcements. I personally had a speaking session there as well, which was a great success. How to help MSPs in sales and marketing with podcasting. There was great after parties with Universal and Stone Temple Pilots, and Tony Hawk spoke, and it was an incredible event. We recorded many conversations, and the following is one of the conversations, and they were all great. It was a high traffic area, so they might be a little noisy, but just a great event. I encourage everyone to consider going to it. Thanks so much for listening.
Hi, I'm Joey Pinz, and here's my 45-second introduction. After starting my business in the 90s, I started developing poor habits of eating in my diet because of working way too much. I found myself at 340 pounds. The doctor told me if I don't lose the weight, I'm not going to see my daughter graduate. I took the next 7 months, lost 130 pounds. People ask me, how'd you do it? What's the secret? I need to lose weight. How'd you do it? How did I lose the weight? Just one word: discipline. I've had other successes in life, and I attribute them all to discipline. Now, I'm not the king of discipline, but I believe that it can help all of us. Friends convinced me to start a podcast. The podcast mission: how do we better ourselves and society? I talk to interesting people in health, fitness, sport, wellness, business, technology, science, art, and culture. And I eventually ask them how discipline plays a role in their life. Podcast vision: growth through learning from others.
What are some of your hobbies, Dean? I don't want to talk about podcast. What do you like doing?
Operations coaching, woodworking.
Woodworking.
I'm
Woodworking.
also a crazy dog.
Fist away. Crazy dog?
Crazy dog dad. I'm obsessed with my dogs. That's another hobby.
Crazy dog dad.
Oh yeah, I monetized her Instagram.
Have you?
Absolutely. That's
You
my
got a lot of
return.
followers?
So she's currently at about 6,000 followers.
Yeah.
You need to get a dog account on Instagram. Needs to be at about 30K to generate enough passive income.
There's dog accounts on?
Oh yeah, that's a whole thing.
Dog account.
Absolutely, yeah.
And how do you monetize that?
So at my size, the only way to monetize it is basically through product referrals and brand sponsorship. When you get around 30K followers, that's when you can actually start generating passive ad revenue from like Chewy or Petco or something. Or in our dog's case, she does a lot of like really like bougie dog brands because dog people will spend a ton of money.
Sick.
So
And they certainly will. What kind of dog?
she's a Newfoundland Labradoodle. I got her on the sticker here.
Yeah. Very nice. How'd you get into woodworking?
I like tools. I like creating stuff. I like building. And a while back, I was trying to figure out what I wanted. I wanted to experiment, first when I was a kid with forging and metal, right? All these things. And it's not approachable. And so I settled on, well, I can buy wood. I can get woodworking tools.
Where do you live?
I live in Massachusetts.
And
so it's from there grew into a pretty serious hobby.
Really?
Now I have a real woodworking shop. For a while I had thought about being a woodworking YouTuber, but realized I don't know enough to do that. So I make a lot of like furniture and stuff for like friends and family.
You make furniture?
Yeah.
Tell me, like tables, chairs,
End tables, dining room table. Dining room tables are great because that trend right now of things that are rustic and look damaged is still pretty hot. So that allows for a lot of mistakes to look intentional.
I see.
And then cutting boards are another great one. That's a great gift. And you can get really, really cool types of wood import it and make really, really interesting cutting boards that people will love. So,
I took wood class, wood shop as a kid, but it's amazing to me that, so when somebody comes to you and they draw you a picture, they show you what it looks like.
So usually it's just this is our style. This is what we like.
Wow.
Come up with something. A more professional operation would probably have basically a scope of work. And a plan.
Right.
For me, it's just if I break even on materials, I'm happy. That's been the other part I've really actually enjoyed about woodworking is so the economics of a woodworking business, is not too dissimilar from MSP or
How
services.
so?
Well,
You can't get recurring revenue with woodworking, can you?
no, but when you're getting started, so think of like an MSP getting started who maybe is in like a break fix model. Where do you tend to start? Cost plus. And so where do most woodworkers tend to start when they're like, I could sell this cost plus? And it's really funny in woodworking communities, you see all the same debates we see in this space, with like, well, what's the right price or what are you charging in your market? What should I be charging? And the people who are more experienced, like that's not how you look at it. You want to maybe do like 3x your labor of materials. Everybody's got different models. And just seeing the same sort of entrepreneurial journey where you can basically see the maturity level of each person as they go from like hobbyist to like professional hobbyist to maybe like part-time professional to actual professional. And I found that really entertaining. So I'm like, wow, this is just like talking to business owners in IT.
Interesting. Now, did you have an MSP?
So I didn't directly own it, but yeah, I was an MSP for a little over 12 years.
Yeah. I heard
When-
you used a great dashboard product at one.
We did. So when I joined the MSP, funny story, when I joined that MSP, we were about 700K ARR in southeastern Massachusetts in a tertiary market and not really a great place for talent. And we had switched recently from break fix. It's the standard story of every 90s MSP. And so we were cash poor, and I was brought in to manage the service team. And one of the things I noticed right away was nobody knew, like in the room, nobody knew what our goals and metrics were. And I wanted a dashboard. And at this time, there really wasn't a bright gauge. So it was either use a built-in report in ConnectWise, which I had not learned yet, or write something, in SQL, which I had not learned yet. And Googling around, actually on the original Lab Tech Geek website, Martin's website, somebody had mentioned CW Dash.
Yeah.
And I was like, interesting. And I'm looking through it and I'm like, free? That's my price. And so we implemented Forza Dash. We had it on the TV when we were just 6 employees, and awesome. We used that ad supported model.
Yeah.
I don't know, a good 2-3 years.
Amazing.
And eventually we developed the acumen to develop an in-house reporting system and layered with Nylier. But I still kept Forza Dash on my computer because one of the widgets that y'all had early on was just something that showed how many untriaged tickets I had, which for me as a service manager, of a small company, was really helpful just to have a giant box with a number.
Right.
For years, I used that personally because it just solved a need perfectly.
Yeah, sure.
We would not have been a data first MSP had I not discovered CW.
Isn't that funny?
Started using it. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, we made that product internally and then brought it to market. Yeah. When you say Southeast Massachusetts, you mean Cape Cod?
Just south of Cape Cod. I grew up on Cape Cod. So we were in Fairhaven, which was right next to New Bedford.
Yes. The ferries at Woods Hole. That's still on.
Yeah. So that's if I had like an airplane, that would have been like 20 minutes from our office. But if I had to swim it, that would have been an hour.
So you're at the MSP, things are going well, and then you decide to leave the MSP.
Yeah. So the brief history of that for probably no one's interested, but so from that 700K ARR, we managed to slowly build that business into a pretty massive company. Went through a number of mergers and acquisitions, eventually went platform. Somewhere around like the $54 million mark, like 300 employee mark. We had a really strong operational playbook. And so that meant that when we acquired other companies, it was very simple for them to kind of join our culture. So there wasn't a lot of interference. So we were left with a lot of former owners that were formerly doing owner-led sales that didn't have to put out any integration fires, that could just go sell without any fear. Because of course now it wasn't their employees they had to worry about. And so suddenly the funnel got stuffed, just stuffed with net new logos. It was a really cool time.
Very nice.
The downside is for an ops guy, if you have really, really strong sales like that, people stop caring about ops. So it's getting boring for me. And a vendor friend, Ray at OIT, said he needed some assistance with getting his client success department working, which, I'm an ops guy. I'm not a client success guy. So I left to go work for him for 6 months to do that. And that got me really into like, hey, vendors are a lot of fun. And so here I am now on the dark side working with vendors.
And what's that transition been like?
MSPs are terrible clients.
How so?
The most keen in the butt verticals. So when I was an MSP, I would have told you that like dental is a frustrating vertical.
Yeah.
Or at least for a while,
Lawyers.
nonprofits, lawyers.
Yeah.
When you become a vendor and you now support MSPs, MSPs are such a pain in the butt. They have all the same problems as lawyers and dentists. They all think that they and they alone have the unique solution. They're all very cost oriented. Never want to listen to how to actually solve their pain. And so you have to sort of be like, you can get through this. This is a relationship. It's a lot of fun, but it is a little eye-opening because you're like, wow, was I that bad of a customer when I was an MSP? That probably was.
Yeah.
They all think that their spend is a big deal. And, as you start to scale as a vendor, somebody who's only giving you a couple $1,000s a month starts to become less of a big spender. But just like an MSP client who maybe only spends $200 a month thinks they're important.
Right.
It's just really funny to see that like it's exactly the same.
So we're here at ITNation,
Yeah.
Connect's biggest event of the year. There's thousands of people here, thousands of MSPs. What's your message to MSPs and why Waldo?
So I'll start with why Waldo. So helped. We're a US-based outsourcing provider doing call answering in tier 1. And there's a lot of other really great providers here that do outsourcing. So we figured rather than getting a booth, let's wander, but what could we do that would be kind of fun and eye-catchy? So let's all just dress up in our company colors with Waldo, and it's kind of a gimmick. It's fun. People spot us. Why you dress like that?
Sure.
So we get to have really great conversations, and it's not in a context where folks feel they're being sold to at a booth. I think the message that I would give, I've been going to ITNation for a long time. I was, a student of Paul Dipple before SLI. Eventually we were in SLI. It's easy in this environment to get lost and lose track of the fact that everybody here, every business owner here, whether it's just you or you're massive, you're successful. And you need to have a minute and take a step back and recognize the fact that even if you're not at the point where you want your MSP to be, you have already achieved success. And it's okay to take a minute and just feel good about that. And if you have employees, those are families you're supporting. And if you have clients, those are businesses you're enabling. It might not be as many as you want. It might not be as big as you want, but you're doing good in the world. And the service providers, especially service providers where we only absorb pain, people only come to us when they're in pain. I think it's important for all executives just to every now and then take a minute, take a step back and be like, you know what? Like if we stopped here, we've already done good stuff on this planet and we should be proud of it. So if you're listening to this and you own a services business, take a minute and just take that step back and recognize the excellence you've already brought, even if it's a small circle of people to those people.
Has podcasting turned a new leaf? Certainly after the elections are over now, we see that some of the politicians, I believe, are coming to a new area. What's your position on where podcasts are? You are a podcast.
Yeah. So it's funny you say that. I would not consider myself a podcaster, but I guess I am.
Yeah.
I think that in the past, we had our thought leadership largely curated for us. And certainly there were some people that were objectively excellent, but a lot of it is who you know and your ability to get in front of an audience. And podcasting and the internet has democratized that. And certainly on the negative side, there are people who probably shouldn't be in front of a microphone, but on the positive side, there's a lot of extraordinary people that have individual centers of excellence that no one would have known about. that can now be exposed, and specifically can be exposed to the niche of people that are best suited to learn from them. And I think that's fantastic. And like in my role as service manager, previously ops person, where was my content? There was nothing made for me for the first 10 years in this industry for service managers. I discovered MSP Geek eventually, and at least at that point, I met other service managers. Podcasting allows somebody to say, hey, this is what I talk about. This is what I'm, an expert on. If you're this person, come find me and let's get better together, or let's talk about it more, or let's learn more. And I think that helps all of the folks here in the past, like me, that would have just been isolated, in my case, Southeastern Massachusetts, relatively unaware of what they could do or what they were capable of. Podcasting and being involved in these communities really helps those people discover that you could be on stage. Like you could be the person that little nugget in your brain is the one thing some other person is way more important than you needed to hear to make their next journey forward. So I'm a big fan of that. And I'm a big fan of being able to spread and empower knowledge and get more voices out there. Even if that means we'll get some voices that maybe shouldn't be out there. We'll take a little bad with the good. I think it's worth it.
Yeah, I think it's worth it too. The great thing about podcasts is a low barrier to entry. Equipment's relatively expensive. To push everything out and all the platforms are inexpensive. The bad thing about podcasting is there's a low barrier to entry. It's the same problem. So there's 4 million last I heard, and there's something for everybody. That's for sure. Dean, is there anything in the last month or so, 30, 40 days that you changed your mind on?
Well, I change my mind all the time. One of the things that's important, if you're somebody like me who, on a disc profile, high D through the roof, I always think I'm right about everything. I talk very confidently. I think if you're going to have that persona, you have to be willing to understand that you're often not right and someone's going to present new information, and being able to, basically what I say is I own my nonsense. So if I had an opinion a month ago that I have now learned was either incomplete or inaccurate, I want to be able to openly own that and pivot to what my opinion is, and also teach people where and what I learned or where I got it from to improve. It's the only way we all get better at really being very discreet and intentional with how we consume information. If I just accept everything that you say on a podcast is empirically true forever, then eventually I'll stop thinking. And we don't want that. I'm wrong all the time. I mean, you can pick any subject you want and I'm wrong about it.
Sure.
But I think that's part of the fun, is getting to be wrong very loudly. That allows people to start having a conversation about it, and then I'm the scapegoat. So people who might be uncomfortable being wrong don't have to feel like, they're to blame. I'm my hashtag Spicy Monday. That's at fault. That was the bad guy. So now let's talk about it.
Tell me the rules of Spicy Monday.
So do you know Kyle Christensen from Empath?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Kyle, yes. So Kyle and I have known each other for a very long time because we used to go to shows like this, and Kyle would get up from Sierra Pacific Group and talk about service manager, and now we get in the front row and heckle him about how wrong he was.
Nice.
And we got to a point where there's a lot of operational topics that we would talk about in a way that was maybe not warm and friendly to an MSP owner. And we were joking one day that this is kind of a spicy post. So we both started doing this on LinkedIn, and it got a little bit of traction. So then I created the hashtag and then really started pushing it, that this hashtag is your safe zone. So if you have a thought that maybe you would not normally, maybe you have a thought about this show that you, Joe, would never say because it's not your brand and it doesn't represent you. But maybe it's Spicy Monday, Joe. So let's make the hashtag the villain. It's a mask. Let's give you a little crowbar away from your normal brand. You give you a minute to express a thought that maybe you wouldn't normally express. Not too caustic. Maybe you had a frustration with some element of setting up Podcast Bro. And you want to talk about it a little without really offending anyone, but it's not something you would really say on your brand. Well, here you go. You got a scapegoat now. Throw my hashtag on there. Be a little bit spicy about it and say your inner thought. It's the hashtag's fault. It's not your fault. That frees people up to be a little bit more honest about what they're thinking. And there's going to be a listener that, whether they agree or disagree with your spicy take, they're going to think critically about that subject because you were a little bit more open and honest and it didn't feel so curated. So that was really the goal.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So, Dean, I started my MSP back in the 90s. I'm a little older than you. Just, I don't know, 100 miles from where you were, Raven? Something like that. Yeah. And not paying attention to myself, eating poorly, working too hard, 14-hour days. You're no stranger to this. Got myself up to 340 pounds. Doctor says if I don't lose the weight, you're not going to see your daughter graduate. My daughter was just born, scared the hell out of me. Spent the next 6-7 months, lost 130 pounds.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, and you can't look at it as a finishing line, right? You got to kind of, you got to keep with the changes. People ask me how I did it, and I always say discipline. You know, I have routine, I have willpower, and stuff, etc. How does discipline play a role in your life?
So I'm an inherently undisciplined person.
Explain what that means.
So they claim I have ADHD.
Who's they?
When I was diagnosed as a teenager.
I see.
I've always had trouble with willpower and commitment and discipline. So for me, it was early on as a child recognizing that that wasn't my skill. And so how do I learn other skills to complement and make up for that? So in my case, it was very much, how do I learn process? How do I learn to think about a problem and break down how to approach it so an inherently undisciplined person can arrive at the same level of success as a disciplined person? You know, how do I put the bumpers up at the bowling alley so that I'll still hit the pins, knowing that I can't bowl to save my life?
Yeah.
And so that's really how I've approached it. And what's funny about that is a lot of entrepreneurs are highly disciplined. And when you're building a service organization, you kind of initially assume your employees will be the same. A lot of them aren't. And so a lot of owners here, if we were to pull them in, struggle. They reach this ceiling of complexity where they can't operationally scale beyond it because their own discipline isn't transitive to their employees. I learned early on that if we develop our processes and the way we function to meet the lowest level of disciplined person that could be excellent at my company, anyone can be excellent. And that then starts allowing folks that are not normally disciplined people to get that dopamine hit from the experience of being disciplined. And so suddenly you start realizing that, well, maybe I like that. Maybe I want to be disciplined. So like in my case, I'm a little overweight. I have high blood pressure. A couple months ago, it occurred to me like, you know, I drink a lot of beer and I have a lot of carbs. Well, I'm not disciplined enough to stop drinking beer. I am disciplined enough to stop drinking at any working trade show. And so I made a process. I operationalized it. And so now I'm losing a little bit of weight because of that. I'm not the guy that's going to hit the gym and stay on a diet, but I am the guy that can give myself short-term tactical goals that I can operationalize towards a slightly longer-term outcome. And I think if you can think that way, if you don't have your level of discipline to just work through it and keep working through it, then little bites at a time, you know, find a cheat code that works for your brain that'll let you arrive at that same result. And you'll be surprised that if you stay with that, like, it doesn't take long to start impersonating a highly disciplined person. Interesting. Where you will appear to be one.
I lack in discipline in so many areas. But Dean, you're an operations man.
Yeah.
I mean, to come to this event and to get dressed like you and your partner there and to do these kinds of things, that's structure, that's organization. Isn't that discipline? When you say you're not disciplined,
it's
there's no wrong answer here.
I don't look at it as discipline so much as I look at it, in my case, the way I trick my brain into those behaviors. I learned context and objective. And so if I understand the context of the objective, every minute I could, like, I super don't want to be wearing this hat right now. I normally I just like Keith Nelson, Hawaiian shirts. I want to be wearing that. So every minute I want to take this off, I remind myself, well, the objective at this show is to expose our brand to more MSPs. And if I stop, we won't do that.
Structure.
Do I want to let down David over there off camera? No, I don't want to let David down. That's my motivator. You know, so I'm not disciplined to wear this, but I am disciplined to not disappoint David.
Look at you.
It's that you got to figure out that kung fu in your brain.
Yes, you do. Yeah. What motivates you, Dean?
I like seeing other people be successful.
Impact.
I really, really enjoy seeing other people arrive at, I tell them, our founders all the time, I don't care about climbing Everest at all. Like, that's your dream. That's great. I'm proud of you. I want to make sure we get to base camp alive. I get you to base camp alive. I'm delighted. Now that we're at base camp, all right, where we got to climb tomorrow? I want to get you there, and we're all there alive tomorrow. That was awesome. I'm so
Nice.
excited. I need a visionary to tell me where we're going to go. But every day, my goal is to make sure that we all survive doing that and make one step forward. And I love doing that.
Very cool. Dean, thanks so much for your time. We've known each other for a while. It's nice to finally have
Absolutely.
this on camera, and I wish you continued success. Good luck here at the event.
It's great to see you. Thank you for organizing all of this. If
Yeah.
anybody doesn't know, this entire thing, all the podcasters here, this was all organized by Joey.
Isn't that nice? Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you so much, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you for listening and or viewing Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations. Please share this episode with one or two of your friends who you think may benefit from the episode. Our website, www.joeypinz.com. There you'll find lots of resources and you could join our mailing list. Please follow us on all our social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Podcast information, the video version of our podcast is on YouTube. Please subscribe. Audio is on all major podcasting platforms. Please follow them. And if you like it, please consider giving 5-star rating. Would really appreciate that. Thank you again for listening or watching Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations.